who we hope wants to
Why
talk
do I
to
always
you.
get the feeling when I come into these studios I've been set up?
Yeah, well, on the line we have Prime Minister Julia Gillard. Julia, how are you?
Good morning, I'm fine, thank you.
And now you're here with our guest, Mr. Ray Hadley.
Hello.
Prime Minister, it appears we've both been set up. I had no idea I was going to talk to you. I thought.
Oh, no, that's fine. How are you, Ray?
Good. It's nice to talk to you on Nova, so I can't get you on 2GB.
Well, we do go on 2GB a bit, but nice to talk to you on Nova as well.
Just wanted to talk to you about the National Broadband Network.
Yes.
$43 billion is a lot of money.
Yes, it is.
Can we justify the expense?
Ray, do you want us to fall behind the standards of the world and see the jobs that people in this country could do, go to Korea and Japan or Singapore, or do you want to keep up with the standards of the world and keep the economy growing? That's the choice.
I think I probably want to pay the debts. I want to be able to survive for the next 20 years, as do my children beyond that.
Oh, and they'll certainly be able to do that, Ray. We'll build the National Broadband Network if I'm elected. Obviously, if Tony Abbott is elected, it will never be built. You've obviously said you're concerned about debt. Well, let me explain that to you. We came out of the global financial crisis strong. That had caused debt and deficit through a big revenue reduction. When the economy slows, companies and individuals pay less tax. And we had obviously provided economic stimulus. The debt of this country now is the same as someone on $100,000 a year owing $6,000. Now, in this campaign, I've made sure through proper costings and proper policies that I haven't added a cent to the budget bottom line. The budget will come back to surplus in 2013. Mr. Abbott has spent $1 billion a day, $38 billion, not properly costed, and the risk to the budget surplus is Mr. Abbott and his costings not being right. So choice tomorrow couldn't be clearer between my economic plan for the future, continuing to invest in jobs, better schools, decent healthcare, building the National Broadband Network, bringing the budget to surplus in 2013, or the very real risk that Tony Abbott poses to Australian families, work choices back, company tax up, which will flow through to prices in shops, never building the National Broadband Network, and back to the days of cuts into health and education.
Now, we should point out, if you are driving along, this is Nova 969. You haven't, and what happened here, and I mean, I've heard of a question without notice. This is an interview without notice for Ray.
Oh, I've been waiting.
We didn't know that the Prime Minister was going to call up. We got a call. We'd organised with Ray to come up at 7:30. The Prime Minister's people called and said, "Do you want to have a chat to the Prime Minister?" We said, "Of course we do."
Which we're very grateful
She
for.
said, "The only time we can do it 7:30." We said, "Well, our friend Ray Hadley's going to be here at 7:30. And now here we are. And this has been quite a good marriage because, Ray, you've been struggling to speak to the PM.
I have, Prime Minister, just back to the NBN, the $43 billion. When I want to get it to my house, and Optus and Telstra or one of the other service providers come to me in 10 years' time and say, "Do you want it, Ray?" And I say, "Yes, I'd love that really big service." How much is it going to cost me to deliver from my street to my home? And because my home's more than 10 years old and has to be rewired, how much is it going to cost me to rewire my home to get the NBN into my home?
Well, the NBN is being rolled out now.
Yes.
Rollout is happening around the country.
We know that, but I'm talking about once it's rolled out to get it inside my house. And the majority of the people listening to you live in older homes, and they have copper wiring there, and the copper wiring won't accept it. So when Optus and Telstra come in and say...
That's not the way it works. A new wire of fibre will be rolled out to your home.
Right.
The cost is not in that. You don't pay a cost for that.
But from the street to my home, it'll be rolled out, yes?
That's right. You don't pay a cost for that. Then, of course, you would pay, if you want to use the fibre, and obviously people do, people do want to have the National Broadband Network in their home, then they would pay a service provider. There will be competition, so service providers will be there saying, pick me, I'll give you this price, pick me, I'll give you this price.
But all the technicians tell me that my home will have to be rewired, Prime Minister. You've neglected that question. All the service providers and technicians told me yesterday and the day before, I'll need to have my 10-year-old home rewired because it wouldn't be suitable to accept what you're delivering to my door. And the cost, they tell me, will be somewhere between $2,000 and $4,000 to have the home rewired.
Well, Ray, I can tell you, I have met with people in Tasmania who have the NBN now, and that is not what has happened, and that is not what it has cost.
How many of those people are there? There's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12?
Oh, there are trial people in Tasmania, obviously, in small parts of Tasmania, and the NBN is being rolled out before. But, Ray, you're simply not right to raise this fear of costs for people.
Okay.
That is not right. That is not what is going to happen.
Right, no, I'm wrong.
It is simply not true.